find the cosine of 165 degrees, what we need to do is we need to find two angles that subtract to get 165. So you could also find two angles that add, but we haven't proven that yet. So since we're only dealing with the following formula, let me write down the formula here for you. So this is the formula that we're going to use. So we need to find an alpha and a beta. They give me 165. There's a lot of choices. In fact, there's an infinite amount of choices here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to pick alpha. Let's say we could make it equal, I don't know, 225. And then if we go ahead and we grab beta, we could just subtract 60 from that, so 60 degrees for beta. And then alpha minus beta is 225 minus 60, and that's going to give us 165. So this is one of the infinite combinations that you could use. So what we'll do is we'll just plug those in there. So this is going to be the cosine of 225 minus 60. This is equivalent to this, so these guys are interchangeable. And we know that this then is going to be given by this formula here. So this will be the cosine of the first times the cosine of the second plus the sine of the first times the sine of the second. Just like that. So the cosine at 225 is going to be equal to negative square root of 2 over 2. The cosine at 60 degrees is equal to 1/2. The sine at 225 is equal to negative root 2 over 2. And the sine at 60 is equal to root 3 over 2. So this is going to give me negative root 2 over 4. This is going to give me negative root 6 over 4. And that's going to be negative square root of 6 plus square root of 2 all over 4. There's a lot of different ways that you could write this numerator here. What I did was I pulled out, so kind of as a side note, how I got that was I pulled out the negative, so I got square root of 2 plus square root of 6 on the top. Okay, so this is the numerator. Of course, this is over 4. And then I took that guy, and I said, well, addition's commutative, meaning the order doesn't matter. So I just rearranged these terms. So I went negative square root of 6 plus the square root of 2 all over 4. So let's check to make sure that makes sense. First, this whole guy is negative. So if you look at the cosine, this is important to do. You look at 165 degrees. Well, 165 is pretty much out at this angle. Okay, so 165 degrees. The cosine value is a left movement, so it should be negative since we're working in quadrant 2, which it is. We have a negative value here. The next thing we should do is just make sure that this guy is less than 1, well, negative 1. So it has to fall in the range negative 1 to 1. Let's make sure that happens. This, in order for this thing to be more than 1, these guys have got to each be more than 2. Well, square root of 6 is more than 2. Okay, but if we add these guys together, that should be less. So let's just check on the calculator and make sure that this makes sense. So grab our calculator. So we want the following. We want the square root of 6 plus the square root of 2, like that. That's interesting. Okay, so square root of 6 plus the square root of 2. Okay, that gives me 0.38, and if I divide that by 4, I get 0.96 roughly. Okay, so 0.97 we'll say. So this is approximately equal to 0.97. If you think about that, this number looks pretty good because if you notice, 165 is a very, if I draw this out a little bit more here, here's quadrant 2. 165 is a fairly flat angle as far as coming around this way. So its left movement should be very, very close. There's negative here. Okay, it should be very, very close to -1 because we're almost over. I'll do it in red here. We're almost over to this part of the unit circle. So let's just recap though. What am I looking for a solution? This guy right here. That's the exact value of the cosine at 165 degrees.